couple of things before we start. James was just talking about Descartes earlier, the philosopher, who is famous saying, "I think, therefore I am." And in the context of what we've been doing today, it may have been more accurate of him to say, "I'm aware, therefore I am." Because thoughts can come and go, and you can actually get into states of consciousness where you're not actually thinking, but you're clearly still present. So to say, "I think, therefore I am," is not entirely true, because you can not be thinking and still be present. So to say but he didn't say that in English. I mean, he was French, and I'm not entirely sure what the translation was, but this often said that way. The other thing was, we were just talking about binaural beats. So, has anybody heard of binaural beats here before? You have.
Oh, is that Holocene?
Holocene, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. No, so this is a really cool piece of technology. It's very simple. That was discovered by fluke by some guy a long time ago. Discovered that when you play, so a sine wave is a sound wave that goes boom like that. And if you play two sine waves in each ear on headphones, one of which is slightly out of sync with the other one, you get this kind of oscillating thing happening. Yeah. So it'd be like on a keyboard, on a piano, you've got a note, and then if you just had another note that was slightly detuned from that one playing at the same time, you get this kind of thing happening. And that discrepancy between the two sine waves forces your brain makes different electrical patterns in different states of consciousness. So when you're awake, you have something called beta brainwaves. So if you hook up your head with with a what's it called, EEG monitor onto a graph, and you have a little thing that's doing. So beta looks a bit like this. Okay, it's like fast and short. And then when you're kind of daydreaming or relaxed, you produce something called alpha brainwaves, which are a bit more like this. And then, and that's into daydreaming, dreaming. So quite a very deep state of relaxation and fully into dreaming. You produce what's called theta, which is more like this. And then in deep dreamless sleep, you produce a wave called delta, which is more like this. And these are cycles per second. You know how many times the electrical. I mean, I'm not. The science of this is. I'm not an expert on this, but this is the hertz, I think, of your the electrical activity of your brain. I mean, this is purely scientific, nothing mystical about this. This is raw science stuff. But the interesting thing is that of the states of mind that these force your mind into. So you can use different types of binaural beats to induce an alpha state, a theta state, or take you right down into delta. There's also gamma ones, which are like super high, powerful ones, which people produce when they do loving kindness meditations and stuff. The monks. There's a guy called Mathieu Ricard. He's a Tibetan Buddhist monk. He's a French guy. He's spent a lot of time in brain scanning machines doing different meditation techniques, and one of the things they were seeing was this gamma brainwave pattern being produced. So I've got an app on my phone. So for years, I probably did about 5 years of meditating with binaural beats. I use something called Holosync. Mandy has used the same stuff. it's really expensive, this Holosync thing, and it was on CDs, and it was really expensive. And then now I have an app that costs £10, and I can program exactly all the parameters of it really easily. You know, I can put my own backing tracks in. So normally, behind it you have this kind of boom sound, but then that's not a very nice sound to listen to. So normally on the top you overlay the sound of rain or waves, something like that. Yeah, to actually make it a pleasant thing to listen to. Yeah, so I've got an app. I think what's it called? I can't even remember now. But there's several out there, and this can be a way of helping you helping you relax by using these things. And once it takes you into such a deep state of relaxation, it's like once you've been there, you actually know it again. So it's a bit like my son had never been to France until this Christmas. He'd never left the country. So going abroad was a thing that didn't exist for him. But then when we'd been to France, you know, we drove all through it, and he's seen quite a lot of it. Now it's an actual place. And he when we were just setting off from England, he's 3. He said, "When are we going to be there?" And we had literally had a 2-day journey ahead of us, and I couldn't convey that to him. But he was really good, and you know, we did the journey. But after doing it, he actually knew what a 2-day journey involved. So the reason why I bring that up as an analogy is if once you've actually seen what deep relaxation actually feels like, you kind of have a memory of how to get back there. So this is a piece of technology that is a really good support for meditation, and it helped me. So it's called binaural beats, like bin, and then aural as in ear oral, AURAL, binaural beats. And if you go to the App Store or wherever you get your apps on your phone, just experiment with a few. And you have to use headphones because it's all about the stereo split.
Because I've got tinnitus, I was thinking that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
cover up your tinnitus for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got tinnitus. It's horrible.
This is a little off topic, but there's something called the Reddit tinnitus cure. Have you come across that?
No?
Is that when you like hold your fingers and you have to
Yeah.
tap something?
Look it up on YouTube. So there was have you heard of Reddit?
No?
Reddit. It's an online forum where people post questions and then people answer it, and they vote. They rank the questions about how relevant they were or how useful they were. Someone put something up about tinnitus, and this person put up this really weird thing. He said, I've found that this works, and people started using it. It really works, and look it up on YouTube. But basically involves cupping your hands over your ears and flicking these fingers onto your skull 30 times or something like that. I won't. This is not to do with meditation, but Reddit, REDDIT, like rabbit, but Reddit.
Notes, thank you.
Look it up on YouTube. Reddit tinnitus cure. It gives you temporary relief from tinnitus.
No, there's a couple of things now.
Do,
that
yeah.
fixes Holosync.
Yeah.
The way that he explained it was to say that the two slightly contradictory, slightly antagonistic rhythms force your brain to reorganise itself at a higher level of functioning. And that when you stop doing the Holosync for whatever reason, you don't lose that. That is supposed to be, that's there. You do cope with your stress better, you do this, you do that. What improvement you get from it, you keep, which is always handy. And the other thing that he said about it that was relevant was, damn, I can't remember, well, it probably wasn't important anymore. Okay.
If it comes up, do feel free to share it. when you remember.
Okay, sorry.
There's another thing which I looked into, but I don't think the technology is quite there yet. This is a headband you wear that measures the electrical activity of your brain and syncs up with your phone, and it draws all the graphs on it and stuff. But I don't think the technology is quite there. The reviews are not good, because I was interested in, every time I practice meditation, wearing this thing and it tracking on my phone, and then I can look afterwards to see what my brain was actually doing. But this technology doesn't do that, unfortunately. You have to use a very expensive, complicated piece of kit for that. But there's something called Muse, which I was looking at, and it's about 200 quid. And it was getting a 3-star rating, and it didn't seem, and I decided not to go for it. But that's definitely, when the technology gets there, I'll be an early adopter, because it's interesting to see what's going on. You can map your progress and all that kind of thing. Right. So, this next session, we are going to look at the second person perspective practice. The reason why we didn't go 1, 2, 3 is that I've moved the second person down and put the 3 before, because if we do the following your breath after lunch, people fall asleep. So I got that done while people are still feeling a bit agitated because they're a little bit hungry. It keeps them awake. Right. So what we're going to be doing now is visualization. And how this corresponds with a traditional meditation practice, say in Tibetan Buddhism, there's this would be more to do with what are called the Tantric Buddhism, that involves a lot of visualizing deities. That can you have you seen pictures from Tibetan temples and stuff with the sort of, those deities with sort of flowing scarves, and they're kind of in special positions, they've got lots of arms, and that sort of thing. So visualizing a being like that, and then having an actual relationship with that visualization. And in a traditional context, you would pick a deity that represented a particular something, like Manjushri is the bodhisattva of wisdom. So that might be the deity that someone spends their entire life building up a relationship with and visualizing. Or Avalokiteshvara is, or as they call it in Tibetan, it's called Chenrizik, which the Dalai Lama's, supposedly a reincarnation of this bodhisattva, is a bodhisattva of compassion. So that might be the deity that you spend your lifetime contemplating and visualizing in lots of detail, and then merging yourself with that kind of ideal thing. But we're going to do it in a way that is unique and specific to each one of us here. So I'm not asking you to kind of think about foreign deities and all those sort of things. What we're doing now, it can be an entirely secular activity, or a very religious one. It's all fine. It all works. Okay. Just check my notes. What was going to say? No. So what we'll do two sessions, probably 10 or 15 minutes each. So the key to visualization is to make it as real as possible. So that means activating all of your 5 senses with this visualization. So the goal is to see if you can feel. So we're gonna visualize a person or a figure, some kind of entity, and what I'd like you to try to do is to physically feel that being. I can call it person, so I don't want to get too abstract. So physically feel this being, smell them, taste, maybe not tasting them, but tasting, so they're a taste and smell are quite similar, aren't they? They're kind of, what do they taste and smell like? What do they look like? What's the sound? There might be a sound associated with them. And everybody has a particular one of these 5 senses which is particularly vibrant for them. You might be you might be a visually oriented person, or a very touch oriented person, kinesthetic. Is that right? Tactile, yeah. Or you might be a very acoustically oriented person, yeah. So it gives you the opportunity to frees you up to really go with your strengths, but also you want to incorporate all of your senses to make this as real as possible, to make it as powerful as possible. So to make it as real as possible, you need to visualize a person, a fictional character, whatever. It could be an animal, it could be any living being that seems very real to you. And so think of some power that you would like more of, and think of a person or a fictional character or some deity that really represents that for you. Okay, so we just take a few minutes. You have to come up with some. You can't change it halfway through. Okay, that's why we're going to do 2, because we'll try 2 different ones. Is that clear?
Does it have to have a face?
Doesn't have to have a face,
It could be a colour.
but it could be a colour, it could be a shape, but it's got to be alive and powerful, yeah, in the way that you want it to. Okay, you might want a physical healing, or you might want more courage, or more wisdom, or a bit of love, or something. Yeah. So you just think of the ultimate representation of that. But it helps if it's an actual living being, because then you're in an actual relationship with them. Or if it's a fictional character, it's one that's very powerful for you, like Yoda. Someone like that. So we'll just take a couple of minutes to just check in, find this representation. Okay, so everybody got someone or something? Some being? Yeah? So what this practice is going to involve is closing your eyes, seeing this person slash being, creature in front of you with all of your 5 senses engaged with them, and then somehow their power is going to be given to you into your body. Now, I'm not going to be more specific about that because for everyone else that's going to be different, and it depends what you're trying to. If I was trying to get more courage, for example, I might see a beam of energy come from their heart into mine and just sort of charge up my heart area. Or if you wanted more guts in life, you know, it might come in here. Or if you had a bad knee and you wanted that healing, or a brain tumour or something. I remember I was reading about a kid who had a brain tumour and he imagined Star Wars battles going on in his mind, and his brain tumour disappeared, and that may have played a part with it, but that was what was happening. Yeah, okay, so you need to find a way that really seems like it's really working for you. Okay?
Do you need to do it with your eyes closed? Because sometimes I can visualise better with my eyes.
Okay, yes, sorry, I should have said eyes open, eyes closed. It's fine. Whatever makes this, we're going for potency here. Whatever makes it the most potent. All right? And we'll do 10 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll do another one and another little Q&A afterwards.
Does it have to be just courage? Can it be more than one of those things? Like,
Yeah, well, you might come up with a character that simultaneously represents 3 qualities that you want in your life. Yeah. But remember, if you're trying to focus on too many things, it's harder. It's easier to narrow it down. Who's got something they want to say?
I see why I did the breathing one before lunch.
Yeah.
Because I caught myself nodding off for a second. I
Yeah.
kind of went forward and went, oh,
Yeah.
halfway through that. It was hard. When I visualise stuff, I don't see it. I have to imagine it, if that makes sense. I'm
Mhm.
a lion. I didn't see a lion. I
Yeah.
imagined my lion. And
Yeah.
I smelt my lion, and I touched my lion, and I didn't taste it. But I do find, I find visualisation hard. It's about imagination, really, isn't it?
Mm. It's a skill that can be trained
Yeah.
just like anything else. If you do it lots, you get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
it's
really
not something we're encouraged to do much in our education
Mm.
in England. I don't know.
No.
You know, I was never encouraged to do this kind of thing, particularly.
But it was good. I did something. I imagined, the Care Bears when they beam stuff out of their chests.
Yeah.
I was a bit like that.
Mm.
So we had a bit of an exchange of beaming.
Lion Care Bear.
Yeah. There is one. It's called.
Is there?
Yeah. It's been one of the Care Bear cousins. But it was a real lion. But that's the way we.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds good. Were you going to say something?
I found the visualization difficult, so I kind of like freestyle poem.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it sounded crap, I didn't really go back and change it or anything. I just kept going. But I did a tree.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's valid or not, but I did one anyways.
Well, it's all to do with how potent the symbol is for you.
Mm.
So tree is just as good as anything else. Yeah.
just asking forgiveness and compassion. I can really struggle with the visualization as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was really trying to tap into what you're saying about all the senses, like feeling his hands on my hands, and like feeling the gift being given to me, and trying to allow myself to open my heart to receive it.
Yeah.
I get quite emotional in it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can see how that would be beneficial to practice.
Yeah.
It's like with all that astral plane in meditation and things like that, I've had so many people say, just visualise this, that's how you get it, the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, leave me alone. But what they're saying has got some sense, but it's like the defiance in me. I've got to be ready on my own to practice it.
Yeah.
And take responsibility of actually doing that visualisation every day, because I could see how it happens.
Yeah.
I visualise myself. I used to fail my driving test all the time because I tried too hard. But one night I actually sat there and visualised myself coming out of the theory test office and I passed. And like when I did the theory test the next time, I just knew I passed, and I went and asked them for the ticket. And it's just, that's how powerful it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
To create the realness and the feeling of it. Also, I was beaming off to my next character that I want next.
Yeah. But that's where the power of concentration we developed with the breathing comes in, to the ability to actually focus on the task at hand.
I was doing that candle meditation, and just saying I am every morning. I distract myself and then stop doing it. I try and discipline myself.
Consistency is really important. I mean, that's how it's like putting pennies in a bottle every time, and eventually you've got enough to buy a car or whatever. It's
just training that muscle, like you were saying, isn't it? With discipline.
Well, say with visualization. So look, when you say visualization, a lot of people get trapped in thinking that you should be seeing something. So in the session I just did myself, I wasn't actually seeing a lot of things. I was feeling them, and also I was realizing things. So one of the nice things about doing this kind of visualization practice is that you're surprised by things that happen, that come up. So what you're saying reminds me, the last session we did this activity, and then someone said they were surprised they were actually unable to receive the gift that this being was trying to give them, a person. It was an artist, that was it. And then what's interesting there is that you realise, well, okay, that was a surprise. So part of me feels unable to receive gifts, and then you're kind of actually learning about your own psychological habits through doing this kind of practice. If every time you do it, you can't complete that final thing of actually receiving the gift, then that's telling you something about the way your mind is set up, and then you can go away and do psychotherapeutic practices and things about working through that will good to do. Yeah, you need to be doing that anyway, and then that'll make your visualization practice better, and they sort of feed into each other. And thanks for sharing. I mean, it's just some of this. It can be quite personal stuff. I'm not asking you to share, but what necessarily you were doing. But I mean, is there any technical points that you wanted to raise?
I don't know whether this means anything to me, but I tried to visualise a horse and the silkiness of the coat, but then I sort of felt like I was on a car wash wheel, but I couldn't touch the horse, and then it all went away again, and I had to concentrate again to get back to the horse. But my mind is always rushing, because I'm always having to do 151 things.
Yeah.
And I think that might be something to do with that. I was trying to concentrate on getting back to this horse. Then I could not smell the horse, but I felt like I could.
Yeah, I mean, you might actually, be on the horse. You know,
Felt like I
you
was
may actually.
skiing by the side of it, or
Yeah.
like I was on
I
the
think
car
I
wash
think I
thing.
know what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean,
Couldn't get to it.
you could actually sit on the horse,
I don't think
for
I'd
example.
get
You
hold
could,
to it
and just feel the
the movement.
weight and the mass of the horse, and it's raw. It's the power of the horse, but the beauty of and feel the
It's like
fur.
the sleekness of
Yeah.
that and the coat. I was visualising that fine, but it was the other things. It was really hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought some people are really talented with visualization, and it comes very naturally to them, and other people it's. But I think it's mainly down to practicing it and developing it as a skill.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think some people say, "Oh, I can never." I've got no imagination. You know, some people say that a lot, but that's just not true of anybody. I don't think really. It's just a case of what you put your energy into. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
When you were twirling like a car wash brush or whatever, was that a pleasant sensation,
Yeah,
or was it
wasn't.
frustrating?
It was probably frustrating actually because I couldn't
Yeah.
get near it,
Yeah.
and then it'd go away again. The thought pattern would go, and then I wanted to bring it back again.
So maybe in this next session, you might think of a symbol or a creature that represents complete one-pointed focus. You know, like a stone Buddha statue or something. You know, or that's just what came up for me.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And you might, actually feel the power coming from that, of that kind of like laser, like.
Okay.
Maybe
Mm.
you can do what you like.
Yeah.
Please. Anyone else? How is this a good thing for your life? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but why would you want to do this as a practice?
Because you're like thinking about what you want to invoke.
Yeah, well, it's like it's about becoming better at things and evolving, basically. Lots of athletes, before they do a race, they visualise themselves running the race and winning it, or fighters, boxers, they see themselves doing the fight and winning, or musicians. When I was at school, I was learning the drums, and we could only use the drum room, I don't know, like once every few days for like an hour. It was really frustrating, and all the rest of the time I just would daydream drumming, and I would get better at. So I'd do some drumming, and then I'd have a few days of daydreaming about drumming, and then when I come to play the drums again, I'd be better than I was the last time, even though I hadn't actually been practicing, but I'd been practicing in my mind. It's just an example of it.
I visualise the Dalai Lama,
Mm-hmm.
that I like to go to the top. And I'd written down, 5 things, and then you were saying maybe 2 or 3 would be enough. There's a lot going on. But I found he was smiling and happy and talking, but I felt rude to touch him or sniff him or eat him. But I did feel a connection, and I was very much thinking about the middle way. That's what I want in my life. I want the middle way, moderation. which seemed very boring when I was young, but now it's really, I really want it. And then it went to loving kindness, and I felt this beautiful cape go around me, and it was velvet and all comforting, and so I guess I was visualising.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, but there's that element of always, is my stuff relevant? You know, am I doing it properly? Does this count? Going on, I've decided it does count, and it was mine. And
Yeah, well, this is a very personal thing, and it's not so much about comparing notes with others, really, because what happens for you is not going to resonate with another person because you're different people. So no one can tell you that what you experienced wasn't valid because they didn't experience it, only you did. One thing I was thinking in this thing of like looking for things that happen that are surprising is, you know, why could you not touch the Dalai Lama, you know? And so how this relates to meditation practice, that might be taking the final step from third person to second person to first person to say that, say meditation might be, so the Dalai Lama represents someone who's done a lot of meditation practice and has a mind which is able to go into these different states of consciousness because he's done a lot of practice. But your mind is too. And when it comes to awareness, your awareness is the same as the Dalai Lama's. And I know that for sure because awareness doesn't have any contents to it. If awareness had some kind of shape and colour to it, then there would be differences amongst other people. But because it's empty, it's identical, it's universal. So
in a way, he was up there, and then he came to the same height as me. So it was kind of like
that's interesting too. Yeah.
So that made sense there, but I think it was a respect thing. You know.
Okay. Yeah. So there is.
My arms
Yeah.
give him a
Yeah.
big
Sure.
hug and a kiss.
Yeah. No. I think there's an appropriate level of respect, which is a good thing. But then there's also the thing of saying, I can never be that person, or we're different. That person's more valuable than I am. So this is about getting beyond that in a way. But this is in the sort of world of psychotherapeutic stuff and the subtle realm, and you can be a bit more. You're quite creative with this, and it's good for doing your own psychotherapy because psychotherapy is expensive. You know, you're going to do it with other people, but if you can do a practice like this and actually notice, why couldn't I accept that gift from that person, or why did I feel I was not allowed to touch them, or why whatever, you know, then you can actually see how your mind actually works, and you can think, okay, well, there's things you can do about all of these habits. You know, you could say, well, maybe I could go and do whatever to help that. Does that make sense at all?
It seems that like when these figures, whatever chooses to come into your mind to be with, it can, like you said about evoking like a certain quality, and what I found was that it sort of brings to life like a quality that's perhaps there already but is slightly dormant in you, like a seed that's there, through sort of this interaction with this, you know, imaginary thing, which of course is still happening within your own awareness, so in a way it's already still part of you. It wakes up that same quality in yourself.
Yeah.
Is what I just found. It's funny, it all carried on happening even when you were talking. Actually, it changed from one to another, but it's very interesting that just through this other being present with a sort of it embodying a certain quality can then, I was finding it was like, oh, it's waking up that same quality in myself, in a tangible way.
Well, humans are really relational creatures. You know, we're extremely social. And have you ever noticed that? So you can read. So right, you could read about. If we use the example of courage again, so you could read a philosophical thesis on courage, or the science of courage, or the theory of courage, or what is courage, you know, a book all about it, and study it in that kind of third person way. And then you've also got the thing where you spend time with somebody, a person who's really courageous, and it rubs off on you. And there are books, there are these kind of like books written, so a book written about, so a theoretical book written about courage versus a novel about a very courageous person. And how this relates to the meditation stuff is I've studied a lot of academic texts on meditation, but I've also read a lot of books, biographies, autobiographies, fictional books, novels about people doing meditation, different states of consciousness and stuff. And that's the stuff that's really sunk in when it's part of a story, than when it's this kind of theoretical model thing. So narratives really, stories really bring things to life for people. And so just as you're saying, that the reason why you're actually trying to make this a real person or being or creature is that that transmission really happens there, rather than thinking of it as an abstract thing. Like you know, thinking of, right, I'm just going to think of love, versus I'm going to think of the person that represents love to me in a really living and vibrant way, is a different thing. And then the final, taking it from third person to second person to first person, is that you realise that you actually have that quality now. Or you might have had it, but it was dormant.
Like a spark igniting another spark.
Yeah.
It seemed to come from this figure that was being imagined, but actually it's like, oh, I actually really felt that inside myself.
Yeah.
You know, through having imagined it, interacting with it with the other animal well-being. Yeah, nice.
Okay. So, should we do another one? Think of something else? Or you could do the same one again. You do 10 minutes. You can, yeah.
So I think I really struggle to receive. So should I do it again, but with the thought that I have that already?
Yeah, great. I'm really glad you brought that up. So yeah, it might be, the good thing is to do the same one again, but if you had trouble receiving the gift, this time say, okay, right, I'm going to try and receive it now. You know, I'm going to try and do it again, but I'm actually going to be brave enough to not have that as a barrier.
But do I try and receive it again, or do I try and recognise that I have it, and I still receive, but recognise that?
I see. So it's whether it's coming from this thing you're visualising, this person you're visualising, into yourself, or whether they're just making something arise that's already inside you. I don't think it really matters, as long as you end up with it. Yeah?
And do you, if that's the case, do you sort of pick up where you left off, or do you want to, or is it a good idea to go through all the preliminaries again of the touching?
It's up to you.
Okay.
You know, it's all about making this as real as possible
Yeah.
for you. So however you're going to do that.